Welcome, everyone, to episode 17 of the Golden Squeeze podcast. We are a couple days removed from the Backlash pay-per-view in France, and boy, was that a raucous crowd, and they did not disappoint. That is 2 years in a row where Backlash was abroad, and I got to be honest, it's much more enjoyable watching a foreign crowd than it is the American crowd because they know how to go. They treat this like Real Madrid versus Barcelona every single time WWE goes out there, and they go hard. And you and I, we've been to our fair share of wrestling events. It is hard to stay that up for that long. A 3-hour show to be crazy in the first minute and be crazy in the last minute. There's a fatigue that goes on during a wrestling show. I'm just impressed that as a group, they were able to just stay on top the entire time. What did you think of that crowd?
It was amazing, and not that it was necessarily odd. I think word was getting out that Vegas was going to end up being the next spot for Mania, which they officially announced that. But after hearing a crowd like that, and I know Triple H had reached out about sitting down with the mayor of London, I believe. And so I think it's just, I wouldn't be surprised if next year, or maybe two, because I know that Minneapolis, I believe, was in the running, which seemed like the front runner, and then Vegas ended up being the one. But I wouldn't be surprised if within the next 2026 or by 2027 we have a Mania over in Europe somewhere. I mean, especially after this event, you can't deny just how hyped up those fans get, and it can make a match that may be just thrown in the middle of the card feel even more important. Not saying that any of the matches were bad. I actually enjoyed all these matches, but just even the ones that had some hiccups in them, and we'll get to that later, but the crowd was still invested in it 100% start to finish, and it's just it was amazing. It really was.
Well, with AEW going to Wembley and doing what they did out there, I think that from a pride perspective, at some point in time, WWE is going to have to go to Wembley too and just sell it out and then some, add in a couple extra seats so they can beat AEW's record by just a little bit. I know Vince would want to do that. I hope that Triple H has that same drive, but I don't know. I would love to. I mean, if they can do that, and I also get that they're in an enclosed space, so it just makes, just from an acoustic perspective, it makes the chanting go off the walls and sound a lot louder than it actually is. But man, if they were to be able to get 100,000 plus in a stadium at Wembley,
and I think they could, and I mean, in Wembley aside, I mean, I'm sure even if it's not Wembley, I'm sure certainly, and pardon my ignorance, I don't know a whole lot about soccer and soccer stadium capacities, but
football, Wade, football.
I apologize, but some of those stadiums, at least from the games I've seen, have to be 100,000 capacity.
They're big.
Maybe big. Not, but at least just seeing some of the overhead shots, and they
make
have
them
to
look big. WWE can definitely get some good lies going in on there.
I'm just saying, like, I'm comparing them to like overheads of some of these college football stadiums that 100% hold 110, 120,000.
Yeah,
and just I think if that's any indicator, I think they definitely could, for WrestleMania, get 100,000 easy.
Yeah. Oh, easy. If they want to, they can. Question is, do they want to? I know they want to, but I don't know any of the logistics that go on to putting on a show like that overseas. So there's probably a reason why they haven't done it more often. But I don't know. I think that it could be crazy to hear that crowd going off for a main event of night one of a WrestleMania. I think that it could be something pretty special. But let's just jump right into the matches. So the first match, it was wild from start to finish. Kevin Owens and Randy Orton versus Solo Sikoa and Tama Tonga in what ended up being a street fight. Not originally supposed to be a street fight, but all hell broke loose the second that the wrestlers got into the ring, and they left Nick Aldis with few choices but to make this into a street fight. I the choice to do that and the way they handled that, I thought was great. I
Oh yeah.
I thought it was perfect. I thought it was perfection, and it was clear to me that there wasn't going to be anything stopping these guys from beating the hell out of each other before the bell. I was watching it with my kids. We were wondering, when is the bell going to ring? And then you just see, when you see Nick Aldis come down with the mic, you know what was about to happen.
Oh yeah.
If you guys want to fight each other, that's fine. We'll just get rid of the rules then. Yeah, okay, great. Do that. And then it just kept going. And it was a lot of great spots here. Did you see the botch at the end?
Did not until
Obviously, I didn't see it because the production crew. This is what separates AEW from one of the things that separates AEW from WWE. Is that there was a terrible botch that pretty much almost ruined the entire match and would have ruined the debut of Tonga Loa. But WWE is able to hide that because their production crew is so good.
well, and you're referring to him coming out late from under the ring.
Yeah.
Okay, but when I first saw the video from that side of the audience, I was like, ooh. But then if you look at it, I was like, the first time I saw it, I was like, okay, the referee clearly, kudos to him, like started moving on his own. But then when I watched it a couple more times, it looked like that he actually did make some sort of contact with his leg before the 3 count.
But
So it
even if
made
there
it.
was
I
contact,
know. I know. I'm just saying because at first it's like, oh, geez, he didn't even touch him yet. But that made it a little less egregious. But
maybe, but
still, it
the
was
ref clearly pulled himself back. I mean, there was some
oh
contact.
yeah.
And
But
the
again,
ref
man,
did a
that's
great job because that would have ruined the entire match if he had to go
but
to the 3
that's
count.
but that's that's one of those things, man. When you want to go that way to help to keep a surprise, and you have somebody under the ring, and you never know if communications are going to fail with whatever like walkie-talkie or earbud they have in there. And I mean, it's a gamble as opposed to having somebody like in a hoodie in the crowd, like watching nearby and knowing when to run and jump the barricade. It's
Yeah.
always a gamble. And so, yeah, but the camera angle, kudos to them. It was good and well done, and genuinely surprised. I said it was going to be Jacob Fatu, and I was wrong. And so yeah, and it makes sense going forward. They've got a formidable tag team now for the Bloodline. If
Who?
the brothers.
Why is that formidable? I've seen nothing from Tama Tonga that leads me to believe that he's ever going to win any matches, just like Solo doesn't win any matches.
Well, no,
He's taken a lot of
they're
damage.
doing that.
He took 20 minutes worth of damage before he even got in like his first punch. They made those guys look weak until the end of the match.
No, it's a street fight, dude.
I almost thought it was a squash because
nah,
I didn't even see them get any offense until
no him
like a 3/4 of the way through.
no him and his brother. They in New Japan, they were a very respected tag team. Won the gold many a times, and I think so. Obviously, they work well together as a tag team, and
This is New Japan. This is the big leagues. This is the
geez.
majors. This is
Anyways, I think the Bloodline, especially since the Usos are no longer, well, or at least currently not together, at least when they won't be with Solo, they've got a tag team in there, and if if going forward, if Jacob does show up, that'll be another singles competitor, and then they'll have the tag team to go with it. So
No.
it made sense. I was genuinely surprised that they did that because they're unlike Jacob Fatu, who was presumably already signed. There were no whispers about this,
Yeah,
or at
none.
least not that I heard. So
Yeah.
it was
Tip the cap to WWE for hiding something from us stupid marks here in
oh
the
yeah,
internet wrestling community. But, but man, that spot off the top rope with
on the chairs.
on the chairs,
Oh, that was
oof,
brutal.
that was risky. And
Yes,
we've talked
and
about this before, taking on unnecessary risks, and obviously it's not as bad of a necessary risk as some of the ones that you'll see in AEW, but an unnecessary risk nonetheless, in my opinion. So
and
much could
and
go wrong.
kudos, it must have been executed the way they intended because Tama was not selling in a manner that made you think he was even remote or even a bit hurt more than intended. Because
Yeah.
when he went up for that, I was like, oh, they better do this perfectly. And I immediately was waiting to see how he would sell it, and he didn't seem like it bothered him any more than any other move he was selling during the match. And but they kept, I think either Cole or Graves, one of them called it a brain buster. I was like, that wasn't a brain buster. That was I think a fisherman suplex off the. But I know I'm almost positive at that spot they called it a brain buster. I was like, that wasn't a brain buster, but there's a big difference between those moves. But um, I enjoyed the match a lot, and
Yeah, I did too. One of the good things about this pay per view, and maybe I might be missing something, but not a lot of finishers kicked out of throughout the pay per view compared to what WWE had been doing recently, which I thought was welcome. Definitely a welcome change for me.
they
But
still happen though.
no, they still happen, but at least we're down to 2 a match instead of 6. So there you go. We gotta work our way down.
Yeah.
But obviously, well, I'm not gonna say obviously because the way that Solo's been booked, but Solo and Tama, they got the win, which is great for them. I think that's Solo's first win since November. So kudos to you, Solo Sikoa, on getting a win. You did it. You now have more wins than Wade and I combined in 2024. We're proud of you.
Yes.
We're proud of you. But
And
where do we?
I was going
Go
to
ahead.
say, Paul Heyman's reaction, reluctantly putting up the one and just looking in utter shock was amazing.
Yeah. Where do they go from here? Where do we go from here with the bloodline? What do you think is next, or what do you think is on the horizon for the bloodline?
Well, Jacob Fatu is signed, from if all reports are accurate, so he's
I'm sure
coming at
they are.
he's coming at some point, and just to we're going to touch on a few things from SmackDown here and there, and something very important that occurred. Paul Heyman let it slip to Nick Aldis that he has not spoken to Roman Reigns since
He lied to us.
Yes, since WrestleMania, and when Aldis said, "Wait, you said that Roman withdrew himself from the draft," and Paul Heyman said, "I did it. I don't want him to come back to this and the way everything is right now," and so that was very interesting. So Roman has had no communication with Paul Heyman per that segment, and so yeah, be interesting. I'm thinking it's going to be a bloodline versus bloodline war games scenario, possibly. But again, there's just so many unknowns because right now it would potentially be the bloodline we saw at Backlash plus presumably The Rock if they're doing 4-on-4 versus Roman, Jacob, and the Usos.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, Who knows? But I'm assuming Rock will probably be involved in SummerSlam somehow, but will he be involved with War Games, or are there going to be more? There's so many unknowns, but I like that. I like that there's no obvious thing. Keeps you guessing and wanting to continue tuning in. Not that I wouldn't anyways, but I like this.
Yeah.
I like it not being blatantly obvious.
Yeah. Two things I want to touch on before we move on to the next match. One, when the match started, the fans were a little disrespectful. We talked about how good the crowd was, but they were chanting, "We want Roman," when we've got four great competitors in the ring about to fight each other. I don't like that. I think that's disrespectful to Kevin Owens,
But it's understandable,
Randy Orton.
Josh.
I mean, sure.
Is that
maybe
the first PLE, and especially over the past few years with Roman being booked more like a professional boxer or professional MMA fighter, once every few months coming around. And I can't say this without going back and looking at some point, but I'm guessing he probably hasn't had a huge involvement in the European tours the past few years.
probably
And
not.
so just probably the fans just clamoring for that surprise appearance potentially, and
I do get that. And that roof would have
oh geez,
the roof would have gone back to the United States if Roman Reigns had come out. But
to follow up on your point, regardless of what part of the world you're in, wrestling fans know that a return of that magnitude, even though we're just a few weeks removed from WrestleMania, would not happen in the open.
Yeah, which is why you shouldn't do it. It's not going to happen in the match. What's the point? What's the point chanting it?
And that's where I do agree with you. I think it's just, hey, you can't help their clamoring to see one of their favorite wrestlers who probably doesn't come around that much, at least here over the last few years. But with that said, and I think that may have been in part of the reason they did that, because they were chanting, "We want Roman on SmackDown." Paul Heyman was like, "Trust me, nobody wants that more than me." And so
that's the only match that could have let off the show, though, because you can't end with that match with Cody being on the card.
No,
you can't put that match in the middle.
No,
you can't put that match in the middle.
The only way that match closes is if Roman comes back, and it's too early for that to happen. And but no, I get that, but it calmed down and it was all was well. But I get it, but I totally get what you're saying too.
The fans got reminded that Randy Orton, Kevin Owens are two of the best wrestlers that we got.
They got a fantastic entry. I mean, I can't remember. I mean, not saying it's never happened over here, but I can't remember a time where the fans were singing along to Orton's entire song. I know I've heard them do the entrance to it.
Yeah.
I've heard that multiple times at like raucous events. I have, but no, definitely not that whole song.
Yeah. Okay, well, we'll have more to say about the crowd as we go up through the match card, including right now with Bayley versus Naomi versus Tiffy in a triple threat match for the Women's Championship.
It's coming. It's coming.
Similar to the Bucks being out of the playoffs, it wasn't quite Tiffy time yet. But that being said, still a good match.
Yes.
They didn't have her take the pin, which it would have been terrible if they did. It was a little modified roll up, I guess, on Naomi that ended up winning the match for Bayley.
Yeah, Naomi had some type of maybe like I can't remember if it was like a crucifix type pin she was going for, and then Bayley was able to reverse it.
Yeah.
So I think they did well by all involved. It
protects everyone.
Yeah, it was a great match, and even though due to the magnitude of the event, and I think we talked about this before, I did not agree with Becky not getting a definitive post-finishing move pinfall on Ronda Rousey at Mania
Oh, you're
to
still
win.
on that?
Well, no, I'm just saying, like,
Yeah.
just on an event of that magnitude, I think that should have happened. But something like this, where Naomi's just come back, they just had the draft, and there's about to be like um like a new season essentially. If you, I mean, that's the best way for me to compare it to, like a new season with the new people coming on board for the draft and everything starting this week. I thought that was the time to do something like that. And that's all I'm saying. It's not that I'm still on it, but just it's situational.
Yeah.
I think, especially, them hyping the first women's main event, it needed to be a definitive victory for whoever they chose to win it. And then on this, I think it was very well done and protected everybody involved, and it was good. It was good.
Yeah. Yeah, it was good, and I did say that we'll talk about the fans more. That the fans were involved in these entrances too. They gave Naomi her
Oh yeah.
they gave her her due. They loved her entrance, as they should.
Mm-hmm.
Um, even though I'm a bigger fan of her previous iteration of her theme song and her previous entrance, she still got a good entrance, and she still got crowd involvement. She still got her glow, and the crowd was eating it up. They were eating that up, and they were eating up Bailey as well. The crowd's
Oh
always
yeah.
going to love Bailey, especially when she's a babyface. They're going to love her, and they continue to love her. And they were eating up Tiffy as well. Only thing I don't like,
Oh boy.
here, and this is definitely picking nits, but after Bailey won, the interaction that she had with Naomi I wasn't a fan of. It just makes Naomi look like she doesn't really care about winning. She got a big smile on her face, and she gives Bailey a hug with a big smile on her face. Doesn't even look upset. And
That, I think, that was done. That is going to be addressed later, because Bianca has already been in her ear about, you weren't around when all this stuff was going on. You don't get it. How can you be so, quick to forgive and this and that? I definitely think they're doing that now, but slowly. I don't know if they're going to turn her full blown heel or just make her change her outlook on things, but I think that's the last we'll see of that. I think that was intentionally done to that is going to be addressed.
well, it was stood out so much to me that I think it has to be addressed. Because I'm
I mean,
just
I
not a
know. I mean, I know they're friends in real life. Everybody knows they're friends in real life. They were at the Super Bowl together. They. I mean, everybody knows they're friends in real life. But again, I don't. Especially some of the stuff they had with Bianca still not trusting of Bailey, that was brought up again on Friday. All of that is going to come to a head at
yeah.
some point very soon, I believe. So
So maybe I've been over here talking about Jade Cargill turning heel, which we'll get to later because she didn't. Maybe it's Bianca that turns heel, and she turns on Jade, she turns on Bailey, she turns on everyone, and she becomes a heel. Who knows? Who knows? We'll see.
maybe.
We'll see. It would make sense given what you just said. But next up, we have Damian Priest versus Jey Uso for the World Heavyweight Championship title. And the match started off with Jay making all the fans eat themselves in every
Oh,
direction.
that roof was about to come off. He came through the crowd, right?
Yeah, and
Oh my god.
yeet.
Oh,
Everyone
dude.
was
How about how about the older gentleman that was by him that was yeeting completely off rhythm? Oh god, that was amazing, dude.
that was his
Uh,
first ever yeet.
Oh gosh, and I don't know if it was because he was too busy trying to hold the phone, but like Jay was up here, this guy was down here, and oh, he was just getting it, and it was awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I had said that Jay was going to win this match when we did our predictions. I clearly was wrong.
Because you're a loser.
I am a loser, a
Yeah,
big fat one, and
yeah.
Damian Priest was the big fat winner
And
in
never
this
mind
match.
that Gunther lost at WrestleMania, but that notwithstanding, you're still the loser, not me.
I am the loser. I'm the loser just because Damian Priest even has the World Heavyweight Championship. He's supposed to have Gunther's belt, damn it, but he doesn't. But this match was fine. It was a fine match. I don't really have many issues with it. However, there was an exchange of about 7 super kicks that went back and forth,
Oh,
uh,
yeah.
which resulted in not one of them falling to the ground.
Yep.
That was
I knew
frustrating.
you weren't gonna like that. I didn't like it, but I knew especially you weren't gonna like that. But
Yeah,
me and you've talked about that privately and on here a few times,
I just
at
can't.
length.
I will never be okay with Shawn Michaels' legacy being tarnished. And I feel like every time they do that, they are tarnishing one of the greatest in-ring performer, if not the in-ring performer ever legacy. And I just wish somebody would stand up for the super kick. Somebody stand up for it and say enough is enough. I
Yeah.
just want someone to come out. I want Jay to do a super kick and win. And then the next match, he does a super kick and he wins. And then
Well,
one day, DIY comes out and they do a super kick and they win. And we start protecting the super kick again. Not going to happen, but that's what I want to happen.
no, and I think the last time it won was when Dolph beat Braun Breaker for the NXT title when he had it for that short amount of time. I think he won with the super kick. I don't think he won with the zigzag. I think he won with a super kick after some interference. But
it's only fitting that a man who grew up loving Shawn Michaels would win with a super kick.
And when Shawn Michaels around that time commented on the overuse of it, I was like, okay, maybe it'll slow down a little bit, and it did not. So when
it ramped up,
yeah, and so once that happened, and he wasn't rude about it, he wasn't a prick. He said what everybody who watched during that era and know that was a genuine finishing move to what it's become a caricature of itself. But yeah, so it is what it is. But I messaged you. I knew I should have said that in the prediction because I knew there was going to be some sort of interference,
and there was,
and
despite Priest.
Oh yeah,
asking for there not to be interference. JD McDonough and Finn Balor both interfered and won Damian Priest the match. Would they have won without them? Who knows? Probably not. But
yeah,
they did interfere, and the cracks are starting to show.
Well, the implication was that he would not have won because remember McDonough threw the foot on the rope, so that tells me that they're implying he would not have won without their help. It wasn't just like one of them standing up on the apron necessarily, and I mean it had a direct impact on the finish of the match, and it made sense because I thought that. I was like, okay, well, they're probably going to interfere and he's going to make it clear he's not happy about it, but he is going to retain. But what I did not think was going to happen, I didn't think the interaction would get that physical between the three of them at the end. And when it did, I was like, oh, here it comes now. It's going to implode. But then they at least appeared united to close out the show.
Yeah.
But I think there are definitely ways they could have had Priest get a good, clean victory and still protected Jay to a degree. I think they could have had Jay maybe be a case where like he he tried to do like a follow-up splash or something, and them saying, "Oh, he maybe should have gone for the pinfall here," and then Priest move out of the way before the second one, and then hit. I do not like. He is too new of a champion to have his finishing move kicked out of. That was unnecessary. I even had a little bit of a problem with the Razor's Edge because he's used that as his finishing move, but that is more acceptable for him to kick out. He should not be kicking out of South of Heaven this early in Priest reign. That was unnecessary.
Yeah.
The Razor's Edge, hey, that is not his main finishing move. But yeah, like I said, I know it's nitpicking. I know they're furthering that storyline, and all the cracks and dissension are there, and we potentially have double turns about to happen with some of that stuff. And well, okay, maybe not a double turn, but maybe definitely them turning on Priest, and Priest possibly becoming a face. But okay, scratch the double turn. They're going to turn on Priest, I think. But again, I think there are ways that they could have hammered home the point, like, oh, Jay maybe taking a little too much time here, and just a miscalculation, and they do that stuff all the time.
Yeah.
He's still, he's still going to be popular. It didn't have to be. It could have just been like, oh, something Jay will have to learn from next time. And, the frustration's got to be mounting. And I think they could have easily done that and had Priest get a clean victory. But I also know from a storyline standpoint, they felt it needed to be addressed. But I like Damian Priest. So maybe I'm biased. I like him. And I think there were ways to give him a clean victory and still protect Jay.
Yeah.
That's just me. But it didn't surprise me what happened, though. I figured as much would, but I still don't like it.
And you don't have to. You do not have to like it, but you damn sure have to accept it.
I know. That's true. It's damn true.
Oh, it's true. All right. So next up, we got the Kabuki Warriors versus Bianca versus Jade Cargill. And I think that one of the issues that I have with Jade Cargill, or at least I had heard about Jade Cargill, was she's a little green. I think that, before I get into her being green, I do love her entrance. I don't know, that music, when it hits and then the snow comes down, their presentation of her is just, it's perfect. It is perfect. It's probably a Def Rebel. It sounds very Def Rebel, so I'm sure that's probably a Def Rebel song. It's one of the better ones that they do, in my opinion. And I'm saying that not knowing if it's a Def Rebel song or not. But great entrance. She looks great. Bianca looks great. Kabuki Warriors look great. They all look great. They all look great. They all had good entrances. The crowd loved it too. They loved the entrances. They loved everything. But this match to me was a little, for the talent that was involved, it was a little on the sloppier side to me. It seemed a little bit, something was a little off
at times. And I have no idea about Jade being green, not green. I don't know, but I don't know her background enough, like in wrestling, like with AEW or what came before, if she's accustomed to wrestling women who have the styles like Asuka and the Pirate Princess.
She's accustomed to wrestling tomato cans. That's what she's accustomed to.
And so, I mean, I guess, I could see for both involved. I mean, Asuka and Kyrie are pros. Been doing this a long time. But still, if you're not accustomed to being in the ring with somebody that long, it can be difficult to kind of. Oh, and I'm sure they had time to go over stuff and everything, but still, just I don't know if they've been running this on the house circuit or what, but I could see where there could be kind of a learning curve on the fly
Yeah.
with, especially
Yeah.
with those two drastic different styles. But I thought for the most part it worked. What I was very, very surprised though was Kyrie not remembering that she was not the legal woman in the ring. That was weird.
Yeah. It
And at
was.
first I was like, oh, this is part of it. But then it's like when the ref told her, then she went to go start an arm bar and then stopped. And it's like she was confused. But I think even Asuka too may have started going to the corner to like receive the tag. And then there was a tag made at some point that I don't even think was necessary because I think it had already been established that the wrong person was in the ring. I don't know, but they bounced back from it, and that ending and that show of strength. I don't care what people say about Kyrie Sane compared to Jade being a lot smaller. The way that she transitioned her into Jaded was beautiful,
Yeah.
and that was great.
It was.
Yep. And
It
and
was. And going back to your to a comment that you made about you don't know what's been going on the live scene. So they fought on April 20th, April 21st, May 1st, May 2nd, May 3rd, and then at Backlash at May 4th.
okay,
So
fair
they
enough,
have fought
fair enough.
1, 2, 3, 6 times
Okay,
since
fair
April
enough.
20th.
And yeah, and that's leading up to, but again, I mean, let's say 6 times compared to probably a hell of a lot more that Bianca's been involved with
Sure.
um with Kyrie and
Sure.
Asuka, but
And
but
also, there's a
still,
big difference between wrestling at Backlash and wrestling at a small college in Poughkeepsie. So, I mean, it's a whole different atmosphere once you get to a place like France and you got all those fans cheering the way that they are in an atmosphere that
right.
you've never been in when you don't have that many matches under your belt, especially in WWE. So, I get it. I get it. I still, I mean, I enjoy it. I
Oh
still
yeah,
think
no,
she looks
I still
great,
like.
and looks will take you very far in this business. And for you fans, I'm not being misogynistic when I say looks. Looks can be men. Looks can be women. It's not. Oh, are they pretty? Her body is muscular. She's strong. She's big. That's what I mean by looks. I don't want anyone thinking that I think that I'm trying to be misogynistic because I'm not. Not those
Nice
kind of looks.
try, Josh.
Wrestling look. And no, my
Uh,
wife is not standing on the steps with a gun to my head telling me to clarify.
um, I now that the title reign is over, I hope they do right by Kyrie and Asuka. God, they're so good, and Io
Mm-hmm.
is so good. Dakota is so good, and honestly, with Dakota not being backed out, I didn't like Dakota taking a clean pinfall the other night on
Mm-hmm.
SmackDown. I didn't like that, but I don't know. I think they still have a good thing with this faction, and I hope they don't just shred all the I hope they don't shred all the credibility. I think they've done good. I don't think Io's been back on TV since Mania, and I think that's a good thing.
I don't think so either, and I'm sure that these two are probably going to, or these three are going to get a little bit of a hiatus as well. Let them go have vacation somewhere, and maybe they'll go to Galveston and have some fun there. But um,
Dude, I just hope, and I know this is looking into the future, and I cannot remember who all they've announced for the Queen of the Ring matches, but dude, I hope we get some Asuka Io one-on-one matches at some point if the inevitable split happens, because my God, that would be amazing.
Yeah, and you get to use the name of the Sky Queen for Io Sky if she wins.
Yes. But I can't. I know they announced some of that stuff, and we can get to that later because I already have some concerns with some of the early round matches in terms of people who are just coming on and going against people who they're trying to bring their credibility back. And anyways, we can get to that later, but I'm already concerned. But
one thing you shouldn't be concerned about was the main event, which consisted of two of the best, or at least one of the best wrestlers in the world, and Cody Rhodes. It was Cody Rhodes versus AJ Styles for the WWE Universal Championship. Cody Rhodes' first defense, or first defense of PLE. It's his first defense.
Yep.
Right? Okay. It's his first defense. Why do I feel like he had one on?
No, I don't think the match with Mello was for the title.
Okay. All right.
I mean, I could be wrong on that, but no, I don't think it was.
Well, his first PLE main event as the champion. And
yes,
I don't think it disappointed. And
my God, no, that was good.
AJ Styles, when you get him motivated and you get him, he's always motivated. He's just a pro. He's just a pro. He's just a great professional wrestler. He just gets the business. Stupid hair, but everything other than that, he's just.
I love his hair.
He just gets it. I think he's scared to cut it because he knows he's getting older. If he cuts it, it may not grow back. But I thought this match was great, and the crowd to sing Cody Rhodes' entire song. I mean, people don't even know the words to that song. People have just been saying Cody Rhodes for years now, and that's the only words they know. I mean, they'd say Cody Rhodes, and that's it. But they knew all the words. Yeah. What I want to know is how does a crowd get that synchronized? That's what I want to know, because a lot of times you'll hear like one half of a crowd start a chant, and then it picks up steam, and then it's going. But this crowd, it was like they all start at the same time. They all end at the same time. They're all yelling. They're all screaming. They know all the words to Cody Rhodes' song. They didn't miss a beat. They were just, it's just amazing. Yeah, it's just amazing. They get an A+. They get 10 squeezes. That's what they deserve. The crowd gets 10 squeezes.
And also, I had to look it up, but they had their own synchronized chant for AJ, which translated to like he's phenomenal or something. Is
that what they were saying?
Yeah, because I was like, because at first I was like, are they trying to sing his old song in French? I wasn't sure, but then when I looked, it was like, it translated something along the lines of, he's phenomenal or something, and for him being a heel or a pseudo heel, whatever he is, definitely working heel for this match and against LA Knight. But they that crowd, I was definitely more Cody leaning, but when they were like, let's go Cody, like they were just as loud for AJ Styles.
Yeah.
And it was awesome, man. And he definitely got a lot of love. And I think it took them both aback at the beginning.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the crowd pretty much that crowd would have given Josh Briggs love if he came out there. I mean, they were they were just, man, were they good. Man, were they good. But the match, when it started off, Cody Rhodes gave a nice little
Josh Briggs.
Our 4 viewers. Actually, you know what? Our 62 viewers now, our 62 subscribers. I hope they don't tell Josh Briggs because he is a large man. But anyways, Rhodes gave Styles a nice smack to the face, and then he did a nice little Stardust taunt. He doesn't care about AJ Styles and telling him that he should be ashamed of his Stardust gimmick. He's embracing it. He's embracing the Stardust gimmick. So good on him.
And the slap, and a slap was continuation of the face-to-face they had on SmackDown where Cody offered up Too Sweet and AJ acted like he was going to do it and then promptly slapped him and exited the ring. It was
one thing we didn't get in this match, since you called me a loser earlier. Where was LA Knight coming to France? I didn't see LA Knight coming into France.
They had to edit that out. It happened.
Okay.
It
got cut for time. It got cut for time.
You didn't see it. You didn't see it.
Yeah, no, I didn't see it.
And I thought about that well after the fact. I was like, wait a second, LA Knight didn't come out. But
he didn't.
Yes, I did. That was one of my previous predictions, not on the final prediction, but yes, I did say that. And yes,
speaking of you telling me I didn't see it, did you see that
John Cena? No, I
John
did not
Cena,
see him.
He was in France. He was in France. There were people on social media posting pictures of him in France, and before the show, and I saw that. And
was it a picture of an empty chair? Or did they really see him?
No, they actually saw John Cena in France. He was actually spotted in France. So I don't know what he was doing there, since he obviously didn't show up on the card. I got a little excited that we might see John Cena. Things seem to be a big deal when John Cena shows up. He didn't. And this is probably the first you're hearing this and the last you're hearing of this, but there was a small chance that John Cena might have appeared, but he didn't. Or maybe he did, and we just couldn't see him. Who knows? I don't think he was there. But going back to Rhodes versus Styles, good match. There was
very good match.
One of the few matches that we both agreed on was that there was no chance in hell that Cody Rhodes was going to lose to AJ Styles in France, and we were right about that. One of the few things we were right about.
I have a complaint.
Not going to have that man lose. Let's hear your nits. Pick him. Pick your nits.
When AJ hit one of Ibushi's finishing moves, the burning hammer. When he hit that move, and Cody kicked out at like 1.5 or 2, and started hulking up. That I don't need to see Cody Rhodes hulking up, especially after that move.
Not by himself.
Now is Ibushi with and pardon me if I'm botching the pronunciation of this thing. I'm about to look this up. Just if I bring hammer finisher, let's see. Kenta, I apologize. Kenta Kobashi. Is he currently in AEW?
Ibushi Kobashi. I guess we're just going to gloss over that.
I apologize because I know exactly what I was thinking in my head. I was thinking Okada in my head, and I knew that was not right. And
you are not helping yourself right now.
I was wrong regardless. But Kenta Kobashi.
Yes, according to the internet, the answer is no.
Okay. Well, then even more so, because I was like, okay, if he is signed to AEW or has gone there in some capacity recently, and they're disrespecting his finishing move just because it's AEW, that's beyond petty and it's unnecessary. And I do not need to see Cody Rhodes hulking up. Just have him kick out. It's not Styles' finishing move. We knew it wasn't going to win. Yeah. So just. I don't need to see guys hulking up. I don't need to see that. I'm still fuming about Sami Zayn hulking up against Gunther after the beating they had him took.
He took hulking up to a new level. That was crazy. That was like worse than Hogan.
And
Kobashi has not been signed with the company since 2013, just in case you're wondering. So, no, he hasn't wrestled in a long time, and his moves are long forgotten, apparently.
And again, it's just even more so. Like there's no need for that. Don't. He doesn't have to hulk up. Have him kick out. We know it's not AJ Styles' finisher. There's no reason for the unnecessary hulk up. I It was still a great match. It wasn't necessary. And
No, it wasn't. I just miss back in the day when somebody would kick out of a finisher. There's too many now to do this, but the announcers would help protect the finisher, and they don't do
yes,
that anymore. The announcers would say, "Ooh, he didn't get that one clean," or something along those lines. That at least as a fan, you can say, "Okay, he kicked out of it because he didn't get all of it."
well, they
They
made a
don't.
big deal about this. Like they called it by its name. They called it out,
Mhm.
and they were like, "Oh, yeah, AJ's in disbelief." So they kudos to them for that side of it. But it was still unnecessary for him to kick out the way he did.
Mhm.
I personally, and I know some people love that. They love all the false finishes, regardless of how many super kicks or V triggers or whatever moves, claymores, stomps are kicked out of. They love the false finishes. I, I'm just not that big on that. Just that
Well, you
I'm
saw
just
how
not.
many people wanted Gunther versus Sammy in the top 5 that we made.
And had it
People,
not been for that ending, I was all for it.
I'm saying people like the hulking up. They like the people kicking out of finishers. They want that to be match of the year.
Again, there were other ways, just like we touched on earlier. I think there was a way to have um, Priest win clean and still protect Jay. I think there was a way that easily could have had Gunther being a little overconfident and the splash with the knees up. Sammy still hitting the brain buster and doing, which was fine. I
Mm-hmm.
like that he pulled that move out, and then winning without the preposterous hulking up.
Yeah.
It just wasn't necessary. But just something like that, it just I just it it really bothers me. But in this one though, when it was something we knew he was going to kick out of anyways, it wasn't his finishing move. I It doesn't bother me as much as the Sammy Gunther match, but still,
Sure.
it was a great match that wasn't necessary. It was not necessary.
No, it wasn't. But the WWE is known for making unnecessary things necessary. So
Yes, and that's
we,
why they're a $1 billion company, and I am not. So,
yeah, I'll take 1% of their net worth and call it a day.
oh yeah,
But that actually ends the pay per view. Any final thoughts about WWE Backlash?
um, great show, and I think it was a great show by itself, but that crowd just made it that much better. And just like you touched on earlier, same with the Backlash in Puerto Rico last year. Just that crowd, it just made it that much more enjoyable, and
Yeah,
it was really good.
yeah, it was. I agree with you. We don't get that atmosphere often. You know what? Maybe it's better that we don't get that atmosphere every single time because it makes it feel that much more special when you do get it. So,
Mm-hmm.
kudos to France. Kudos to WWE for putting on a very good pay per view. Backlash did not disappoint. And yeah, if you like what you heard, go ahead and hit that bell icon at the bottom, like and subscribe, and we will see you next time on the Golden Squeeze Podcast.